Hi there and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Stacy Spangler and I'm a mixed media artist. Today we're going to be looking at some of my favorite substrates that I use for my mixed media art pieces. I love to use a lot of texture and a lot of layers, so I'm going to tell you why I choose the substrates or surfaces that I do. Today I wanted to talk about a question that I get asked all the time, especially when it comes to my really textured mixed media artwork. So welcome to my YouTube channel. This is just going to be a little informational video about mixed media and substrates. This is purely my opinion and kind of some things that I've learned over the years. So I have a collection here of just different kind of pieces of art, and I want to go through my top substrate. And when I say substrate, I know that's an arty term, but it's basically the surface that you paint on. And so I wanted to talk about my favorite surfaces for painting with really thick and heavy layered mixed media and why I like those. So and then if you want to check out some of my favorite brands, I'll mention a couple here, but I do have a Amazon page. You can go check some of the things out over there. So first of all, I use really heavy texture in my art. I use a lot of acrylic mediums. I use heavy bodied paint, and I use layers of paper and other elements. And so because I do that, I prefer to use a rigid substrate. So this is actually here, this painting is a canvas panel. So all it is a piece of canvas, and it's stretched over a hard, rigid cardboard or some sort of hard surface panel, and it's glued and attached on the back here. This one's actually from Blick Art Supplies. I get a lot of my canvases from there. That is one of my suppliers that I use. I'm not paid to promote them. That's just where I get a lot of my art supplies. So, but I always recommend when you're doing a lot of layers like this to use a rigid surface like a canvas panel, or you can use a cradled wood panel. That's actually a canvas there. Let's see. Here's a cradled wood panel here. This is a Da Vinci Pro panel. You can get these, I believe I got this from Jerry's. And you can see here, this is a birchwood panel. So you can get these in different kind of surfaces. You can get them that are a birch. You can get just a really cheaper version of this, or you can get them with an already primed and gessoed. You can see the panel is adhered to this piece of wood, and it's really thick and sturdy. There's no give there to that. And same with this. And so I usually always use one of the wood panels that's cradled like this, or I use a stretched canvas panel. So for my really thick stuff. And the reason I do that is because a regular canvas, as you can see here, this has got some texture on it, and when you do like texture, the canvas is really fine. But a stretched canvas, first of all, it really breathes and expands and contracts depending on the environment that it's in. And so when you're using some of these pastes, which all the pastes that I use are made for art, and they do have some give to them, but it can make them crack, and it can make the layers, if you've got a lot of paper, just having those bubbles possibly under the canvas, it just kind of makes me nervous. So I have really moved solely to one of these flat rigid surfaces. Another surface I love to use is a heavy watercolor paper. And you can see this here. This is probably about 125, 130 pounds maybe. But you can see I've got some paper on here. I've got a lot of layers of paint, inks. I had wet mediums, glues, and this has held up really, really nice. So a good heavy watercolor paper, even if you're using acrylic paint or inks, is really a nice substrate, and it gives you a good rigid surface. that will take that media. There are mixed media papers out there, but I prefer the watercolor papers. They're thicker, and I love that nice texture that you get from a watercolor paper. So you can see here how nice these little, if you do a panel, you can mount them in a little float frame like this, and they look really nice. You can see this has got a neat heavy texture on it. And then the last substrate that I'll talk about that I tend to use a lot, there's a lot out there, but just cardboard. So this is a pizza box, and I've reinforced it, and I gessoed it and prepped it, and reinforced with a piece of cardboard here. But this is this is lots of layers of paper, and it's got a resin over the top, and that really has held up nicely. I did this piece years and years ago, and so you can see that it has really even still held up. So that's always, and cardboard is inexpensive and easy to find, and it's a great way to repurpose your materials and recycle some things. So those are, you know, the products I use the most, and I kind of given a reason of why I use them. I'd love to take any questions. I'd love to hear if you've found something else that you love to use for your mixed media. If you have heavy texture or layers like I do, I'm always open to hearing new things and love to learn from other artists and what they're doing. So some of my favorite places to get these supplies, like I said, is Blick Art Supplies online, and then also Jerry's Art Supplies online. So that's where I get most of my canvas panels and panel boards. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. I know I get that question just about every time I post a picture. I feel like someone will DM me or put a comment about what kind of surface do you use, so I just wanted to address that. I know there's a lot of choices out there for artists, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. And you know, I always encourage just experiment too. You can try different things. That's the great thing about acrylic paint, for sure, is as long as the surface is prepped well, just really anything is fair game. You can paint on any surface that you want. And so but I do find with the texture and the layers that the more sturdy surfaces seem to fare better. So anyway, thanks for joining me here on my YouTube channel. I would love if you'd subscribe to my page. It helps me offer you more content. I always welcome your comments and feedback, and I'd love if you would share my page with a friend. And check out my links for my online studio, more free content. I have a newsletter where I discuss things like this twice a month, and always try to make it valuable information for the artists out there and beginner artists. So thanks again for joining me.